we talked about being able to use SOPs and policy documents, etc. So agents need enterprise context. And one of the things that we do is making sure that these agents can actually query documents to get meaningful information and enterprise context grounding.
Hi everyone, I'm Taqi Jaffri and I work on the UiPath Enterprise Agents product. And today we have Badri from our engineering team. Hi Badri.
Hi Taqi, it's great to be here.
Thank you Badri. You do so many fun things for UiPath. Can you walk us through what exactly your engineering team does?
Yeah, primarily there's two areas of focus that my team has. One is I build the agents infrastructure, and the other aspect that my team works on is the document processing functionality.
Okay, so let's drill down into both of those because they're very top of mind areas for UiPath.
Yeah.
Maybe help the audience understand what's an agent, why is that important, and how do you think about agents specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. I think given the sort of the prevalence of AI and the focus on using AI to drive efficiencies and improve automation, make tasks more efficient, agents are essentially the mechanism by which we can achieve that. UiPath, as you look at it, had been focused primarily on RPA, the robotic process automation, and in particular on deterministic automation, right? Automations essentially help do repetitive tasks.
Yeah, it's like you have the computer do something that you don't want to do repetitively yourself.
Exactly. With agents and with AI, we're bringing in the capability of introducing non-determinism, being able to make decisions dynamically, and being able to automate tasks that are closer to how a human with more agency would go about doing it, right?
Yeah.
Now, as we expand, as we look at enterprises, and the goal of UiPath is to be an enterprise-grade platform, we look at larger processes or larger business processes and orchestrations. Take, for example, insurance claims processing, right? Mm-hmm. Where you have a claim that needs to go through multiple stages across multiple departments with multiple people involved, making different decisions with many exceptions. There are rules that help get this to go through these multiple stages, but more and more we realize that exceptions are the rule.
Exactly. Right? And even with humans, as part of this process, we have standard operating procedure or something, exactly. Right? So clearly we all also have that in the agentic automation.
Yes. Yeah. And so these agents are able to get context based on the SOPs and the policy definitions. They're also able to look at what's learned on the fly in terms of what has been done previously for exceptions that have been encountered, and then use that to sometimes automate and even skip some of these exception scenarios.
Got it. How do we think about the developer experience? Is this all low code? Can I build these things in Python? How do you think about low code versus pro code for building
I think we want to meet the developer where they are, right? So we offer both pro code and low code. And in fact, from a platform perspective, we don't necessarily differentiate between them. Yeah. For us, a low code experience, you can always convert it to a coded agent, right? Mm-hmm. And they're all running on the same infrastructure on the same platform. The evals, one of the things that a lot of customers worry about is how can we make sure that the agents are actually doing what they're expected to do, right? Mm-hmm. Of course, anytime you build any kind of code, you need the ability to test and make sure that the behavior is consistent, right? And so the systems that we build with evals, our ability to then evaluate that the agent is actually operating within the confines of what our customers want, evals are very critical to do that. And so the eval platform essentially accomplishes that.
Yeah, the non-determinism is good, but it's also challenging to test it.
Exactly.
Okay. And you also mentioned document processing. Could you tell us more about that? What do customers use it for? And how should we think about document processing in the context of these automations?
Yeah, absolutely. Customers typically have, UiPath, by the way, has offerings where customers use document processing to extract fields from invoices, from contracts, from essentially more structured or semi-structured data, right? And so they're able to extract these fields and then use that for paying invoices or other processing that needs to be done, right? More and more what we have found is as we as documents become more complex, as they become more semi-structured or even unstructured, it's important to be able to take those documents, be able to extract data from those documents, be able to summarize those documents, and use those in automations and in business processes. What we found is pretty much for enterprises, almost every automation or business process starts with a document or starts with a set of documents, and actually can even end in a document, right? Where the final output is, it goes into a document.
Yeah, because I think if it was an important business process, which is tied to a business outcome, chances are that somebody at the business took the time to write a document or a formalism of it, or some documentation is changing hands between the humans involved in it. So that's fantastic that AI can now understand and reason over these long documents. You talked about extracting data from documents and summarizing it, but what else do you think is important to do with documents?
Yeah, documents form a very important part of the context that agents need. Agents need to operate on, we talked about being able to use SOPs and policy documents, etc. So agents need enterprise context. And one of the things that we do is making sure that these agents can actually query documents to get meaningful information and enterprise context grounding, right, which is something that the team works on, is the ability for us to take these documents and provide queryable ways for the agent to understand documents.
Yeah, there's this entire world of like vector databases and chunking documents and semantic searching and querying. The world of retrieval is just so advanced. So I think there's just so much more to do here, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's actually one more really cool thing that you do for UiPath. You are our official representative on the Agentic AI Foundation, AIF. This is something we announced recently. Can you tell us more about what that is?
Yeah. So the Agentic AI Foundation is actually a foundation under the Linux Foundation. I think of the Agentic AI Foundation as building the, if you will, the TCP/IP equivalent of Agentic AI. So the idea is to build a set of standards around security, around identity, right, around governance, around how we do agentic orchestration, right, and build those as a set of open standards that can be adopted broadly in the industry. And UiPath wants to be engaged, or we are engaged, obviously, in these different working groups. But even beyond that, what we want to do is to be able to contribute with actual architecture, use cases, open source code, etc. So it's a very exciting time to be part of the foundation, because it's still storming and forming. And we're at this stage where we're able to contribute. And so I have a number of engineers across my team and other teams here at UiPath contributing into all these various efforts.
Nice. Nice. And actually, I was lucky enough, there was one of these sessions that you were not able to go to. I went there on your behalf. And I agree, it's such an early, exciting time there. And I learned so much. This was a couple of months ago. Peter Norvig was there speaking about sort of how a lot of these things evolved. I was so excited to learn about everything that's happening with MCP, which is an AIF project, Agents.md. And then there's this general purpose agent from the Block folks called Goose, which is fantastic. Totally agree with you. I came back with this feeling of this early days. And you get to just learn so much in forums like that. So thank you very much, Badri.
Thank you
for sharing everything. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.